the GNU will arrive at a decision and use sufficient consensus as a deadlock breaking mechanism should any of such arise.
Yes, and that's the point I'm making, that for it to be a decision, 60%, if there's no consensus, have to agree to that. You don't have that 60% with the IFP, the Good Party, the PAC. You need the DA to rubber stamp every time that there's a deadlock. For there to be 60% consensus, you need the DA to rubber stamp that. Without their numbers, you can't have a legitimate decision that you say this is a result of sufficient consensus.
No, it is incorrect. Cabinet does not function on the basis outside the realm of the constitutional prescript. And the question of goodwill in terms of functioning and smooth functioning and putting together the GNU government, it means where there are contradictions and issues that need to be resolved will be resolved by sufficient consensus. And in this particular instance, it does not mean that in the normal functioning of cabinet, from the point of view of how the executive has to function, it ceases to operate. We are talking about a concession in relation to how you break a deadlock, should there be any, where decisions have got to be taken.
Okay, let's be practical as my last question, because I want us to be clear and understand you well here. If, as the government of the government of national unity, you're working on a statement, you're discussing what's happening in the Middle East, you believe as the ANC that you must characterize as cabinet what's happening in the Middle East as genocide. The Democratic Alliance, with their 20% in that cabinet, say we don't agree with that. That's a deadlock, right? So for the president to come out and say this is an approved cabinet decision and I'm communicating it, when there has been a deadlock where the ANC says it's a genocide in the Middle East, the DA says it is not. Are you saying that even when the DA has said no with their 40%, the president can still come out and take that decision as sufficient and having been agreed by the collective, and it's still a legitimate decision that is reached to after consensus?
We are not talking about a negotiated political settlement here. We have long moved out of that. This is a GNU with special characteristics, in which we talk about the normal operation and functioning of government, which in itself is not hamstrung by the fact that for every cabinet member and decision to be taken, it will at all material times be subjected to disagreement. So the question is, should that actually arise, determined by the number of political parties that are there that participate? We have then put the question of sufficient consensus to arrive at the decision.
I agree with you, which is why in the beginning I didn't say every single cabinet decision. Of course, let's say 80% or 90% of the times you guys are going to agree. But the reality is there are policy differences, which is why I'm using the national minimum wage for a reason. I'm using the war in the Middle East for a reason, because that's where you don't see eye to eye. So in that 1 or 5% where you have fundamental differences in policy, how do you deal with it? That's
the minimum wage cannot be reversed.
Yeah, but that's it. I'm saying, what if you want to increase it by 1 rand? The DA doesn't believe in that.
The question is, there is no party that has got the veto power within the government of national unity. So for us to agree, it means that we put a threshold not of a single party. You must understand the 60% how it operates. Start with 50%, which would have included, if it was a grand coalition, 2 parties. Mm-hmm. But the fact that we have broadened that, reflective of the parties that are in the National Assembly to participate in the GNU, you have then raised the threshold to 60%. So it means of those parties that participate, that will determine broadly a bigger decision that needs to be taken within government.
And you
ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula and DA Federal Chair Helen Zille seem to be at odds about the conditions of Government of National Unity agreements. Mbalula signaled he was confident the ANC will be able to take certain decisions without the DA's buy-in. Hello everyone, please welcome to Mashudu Entertainment and thank you so much for clicking on this video. The DA does not have the veto power. The threshold of 60% is of all the parties which will participate. When you constitute a government and you talk about 60% and political parties broadly that participate, Mbalula said. Zille disagreed with Mbalula, saying there would be a need for consensus among GNU parties about cabinet decisions and adding new partners to the unity government. Earlier this week, the ANC announced the GNU consisted of 5 parties, including the DA, IFP, the Good Party, and the PA. Mbalula, however, said the ANC would not close doors to parties interested in joining the GNU. Zille also pointed out a need for transparency and consultation in the appointment of cabinet members. That is it for now, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, what you guys think about this. Also, please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more on entertainment and celebrity news. Bye, guys.